Okay, so this big pile of wood here was delivered by the farmer in May time. Even though we don't use it that time of year, I like to leave it all summer out in the sun so it gets nice and dry for the winter. This stuff is last year's supply left over. All this fine stuff here, this is what I tend to use for either fire starting, but also if I'm cooking anything that requires a bit of sauce or requires a bit of boiling, the coals don't tend to work as well. So having a bit of fine stuff gets a really strong flamey fire, which is really good for paellas and fideuás and any sort of rice or soupy type of dish. And then here, what I tend to do is process this wood down. So typically you've got a piece like that, which is going to split very well, and it ends up being these smaller pieces, which again are good for in the house, getting the fire going, but also good for cooking. And then bits like this bit here, which has obviously got a massive knot in it there, look, well, which was a branch, to say, that's not going to split. So that goes over to one side. So we've got several different types of wood for whatever application that we're doing. You can't have open flames in the countryside after the 15th of May up to the 15th of October because of the risk of fire. Got a big forest out the back here, it's a protected area, so you can't have sort of little bits of embers and whatnot blowing away in the wind and causing a big fire. It's just too much of a risk. And the fine, well, it's not even a fine, it's a prison sentence if you get caught or if you burn down half the countryside. But we need to get this area basically trimmed down, rotivated, get all the wood sorted out so we can start getting back to some cooking. It's supposed to look like this. So it's quite a bit to do. So next to my wood area is where I keep my pallets. I'm always on the lookout for pallets. There's quite a good place up the road. It's like a builder's merchant, and they've got so many pallets, they just burn them in drums out the back. So I said to the boy, can I take them? And he said, yeah. I think I got 25 pallets for nothing last time. And these are all the leftovers. But I need to convert them into some sort of wood storage so that when I've processed all this wood, I can keep it out of the weather, in particular the damp and the rain. It doesn't rain a lot, but it rains enough in the winter. So that's an upcoming project, is basically converting that pallet wood into some sort of wood storage, which I'll keep close to the house. Okay, so as we come past the wood pile there, our plum tree, this is the area I was talking about where I'm going to open up the gates. All the way down the back there's the orange trees. They all need pruning this winter. That's albaricoque, which is apricot tree. Struggling there for a minute. And then we've got some more trees. This is a peach tree. Got an almond tree, but I think it's died. We've got some pomegranate trees, pear tree. This big tree here is a fig tree. So the fig tree has just finished, basically. Still got a few figs left. Ooh, look at that. As you can see, it looks pretty good. But it's at the end of the season now, so they're all far too sweet for me. And then in the background, we've got some citrus trees, which are all lemon. Got 5 lemon trees. Pretty big, but again, they all need pruning. Lots of dead, little tiny dead shoots. They need cutting back. So that's an upcoming thing we need to do. This area here used to be my raised beds. They haven't seen any action for a while. The dogs have just taken over. The white rosemary still looks pretty good, but definitely needs, you can see where the dogs have been digging it up, look. Definitely needs transplanting, really, taking and planting somewhere else so it can keep on looking fabulous. So that's another thing we need to do. I need to decide whether I'm going to get these beds back in action or just remove them completely and replace them with something else, maybe move them somewhere. I'll have to have a think on that. Okie dokie, this is the doghouse I made a few years ago out of sort of pallet wood. I do like using pallet wood. You can sort of see down the side there's a little door there. Let's have a closer look. The dogs are pretty big, so the kennel has to be pretty big. But it's looking a bit tired. It's starting to come loose. You can see down the back there's holes and stuff, so when it rains the dogs get cold and wet, which isn't the best. So we'll definitely have an upcoming video or a couple either renovating this one or building a whole new one. So that'll be an interesting project. So as we move along the back here, the back wall, you can see here just over there, look, I've started to render already that wall there. I've got all this to do still, so basically got to get all that rendered and then finished and looking nice and painted. This little cupboard area here, again the doors are looking trashed. They need to be replaced really with aluminium. They were just cheap wood ones, but they just haven't lasted. Lasted about 10 years, which isn't so bad. Just open it up. This is the solar battery setup. So we've got our solar panels and our charger, inverters and some of the bits and bobs, and then all the gubbins on the wall there. This needs upgrading this winter. It's just not big enough. So as we walk up to this side of the plot here, this is the chicken coop area. As you can see, it's all closed in. And we've got here another Uyastra tree. We just provided quite a amount of shade for the chickens. That's a rabbit hutch that I built a few years ago, and that's going to need an overhaul. You can see the chicken hutch in the background there. That's also going to need an upgrade. These are the gates that I'm talking about to move over to the field. So we've got the gates ready to go. They've been sat there for a good 12 years now. So I reckon it's about time we got them put them into use. So next to the chicken coop area, I've started to collect some stones. It feels absolutely rammed full of them. And I'm going to have a crack at making a dry stone wall. There's the professional dry stone wall. And then there's just this rough wall here. So I'm going to try and fill that in. Because basically every time I rotivate over a big rock or pass through the plough and it gets in my way, I'm going to collect it up, bring it over here, and then just slowly build up that wall as we go. I think that's going to be a pretty cool project. And then carrying on, these are all the fruit trees that I mentioned before. This is a lime tree here. And all the black pipes is all the summertime water in the trees. And I've got this sort of setup here, which again is basically just all the zip ties have broken off in the extreme sunshine. It's just dropped and rotted to bits. So this all needs removing because all this land needs rotivating anyway with the tractor. That all needs replacing with a better system, really. I'm not sure, but that's something we can think about. Can you believe it? This is how random the weather is. The pear tree, even though it's supposed to be going into winter mode, it's just started flowering again. I mean, how bonkers is that? 13th of November, flowers on a tree. Thinks it's spring. Okay, so we're going to go for a walk down the orange trees, get them checked out. You can see this metal pipe here. This is what takes water down to the orange trees. You need to give them a good drink end of July, August, and I mean like a good drink, because otherwise, when the time comes for the fruit, you get a tremendous amount of pith in the orange if you don't water them. The orange itself, the meat, if you like, the flesh, what you eat, what you juice, is quite small, and the skin and the pith is really thick. So it's important to give them a really good drink that time of year. So yeah, so the field, we planted last year ryegrass. A local guy, local farmer came and he basically takes care of it. And he plants ryegrass, which was animal feed basically. But all these sort of long sweepy bits which are blowing around in the wind, what was left last year, once he cut it all down, it all regrew and then went to seed. So basically he's just going to come now and plough the field, and then all those seeds will just re-sprout and they'll be good to go. And he's going to do that anytime now, because this is the time of year when everyone gets the seed in the ground. Okay, so as we approach the orange trees, you can see the end of the pipe there and the water pipe. You can just make it out running along there. Look, this is actually a mandarin tree, which is why they're so small. You can see little teeny weeny mandarins there, but they're not far away. They come through first. Another couple of weeks and we'll be having some mandarins. And then you've got the orange trees themselves. Orange trees typically December through to May, but ours are quite late bloomers. You can see they've got plenty on there, but they're still quite small and quite green. We typically get them from January to June. Again, they need trimming. This one got done a few years ago, and you can just sort of see in the middle there light coming through. So basically what you need to do in the first instance when you're going to trim the tree is you go down inside and you trim off all the inside there so light comes down inside it, and then it all sprouts up and grows up, and then you can come in and then you can chop the edges out. So it's like it's a process that takes 2 years really, but we definitely need to get on with it because they're all too big. You see there's a little persimmon tree. That's basically come to the end now. The last fruit dropped off that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Oh, someone's coming for a visit. Trip, Ina. Wapo. Hello fella, hello fella. Come on, let's go. So as we leave the orange trees, you can see this path here, like an animal trail. The dogs just go up and down. In fact, there they are. the same path every time. Path of least resistance. But isn't it curious how animals do that? Clever. So this is where I'm talking about here, opening up a gate to get the tractor's direct access into the field, because then that gives me more flexibility to make the gravel area a bit nicer. So that's the main reason we'll be doing that. That'll be a few part series, I imagine, and get the chance to use some concrete as well, which I always look forward to. Okay, as we move to the front of the house, we've got this sort of shady area here that we've just made out of river cane, but as you can see, it's been there all summer and it's taken a beating. So it all gets down, all got to come down. All the river cane that's knackered will just burn on the fire, or use it to start the fire, and then we'll just pop to the river and get some new upgrades for next summer. It's also good to get rid of it so we can get some sunlight in here and get rid of any damp. The dogs tend to like it in here with all the shade. It's too hot for them. A couple of nice yuccas, and then the roseberry there, and a nice bench that needs renovating as well. You can probably see the legs are knackered on it just there, look. So that's another project to do. And that bin's just full of the dog food there. Easy life for some. Right then, that's pretty much us done and dusted for today. Thanks again for watching. As you can see, we've got loads coming up on the channel, so please hit the subscribe button and I'll check you out on the next one.